Good morning to all of you in the Devil Dog Day Trade community. My name's Michael, and I'll be taking you through my day trading setup process for today, December 7th, 2021. Special welcome to all of you who have served or are serving in the armed forces. And of course, we do save the best for last here, so an even more special welcome to all of my fellow Marines out there. Semper Fi, Jarheads. For those of you joining us for the first time, we're on a journey together here, and we have people from all skill and experience levels as part of this community. There will be information, however, presented in ways during this session that will resonate with each level of understanding and experience. If you are newer and have questions or comments on anything that I say or we do here, please don't hesitate to leave us a comment or say something in chat so we can get an answer to you. We will get an answer back to you as quickly as we can during the show. Just a reminder, the feed on YouTube can be delayed up to 30 seconds. So if you don't get an answer to your comment immediately, that is probably why. And we'll make sure that we do check those frequently and get back at the end of the show to make sure that everyone has been answered. All right, one of the first things that we do here is look back at what happened in the last day and then look forward to the next 24 hours. And we do that by checking Forex Factory to see if there are going to be any events that will potentially impact our day trading setup. So flipping over to Forex Factory here, we have got, so yesterday there was nothing that happened yesterday from a planned event, and again nothing happened that was unexpected either throughout the day, so nothing to worry about there. As far as for today, Tuesday, we do see we've had a couple of things happen with the euro. They're at 5 a.m. our time. Nothing significant, rather just their orange folders instead of the red ones. And you'll see that the numbers on this column over here were the actual versus the forecast numbers. Anything in green usually means it's better than expected. So that usually means positive things for those markets. And we'll take a look at and see what happened with the euro at about 5 a.m. our time to see if there's anything here that we want to pay attention to in the future. As we look down through the rest of the day here, it's all yellow and just one additional orange folder for the Canadian dollar. We don't actively trade that here, so nothing here that we've got to really pay attention to too much. So flipping over, we'll start with our index and correlation markets. We're starting with the DAX here, the German market. That's been open for a while the U.S. markets are still closed. So I want to flip over just to a daily time frame here. And just a comment that we had sent out yesterday, right? We were looking for price to break this 15.555 area here. That was going to give us a bit of confirmation that we had this trend change based on our weekly zone here that you see down below. And sure enough, that happened. Price actually opened just below that right there, but then it's continued to move up. So this is good confirmation that our trend has changed on the lower time frame. So this is a very positive indication for what the U.S. markets are going to do. And we'll get into that too when we look at the futures for the index markets as well. Down on a hourly time frame, what other thing that we do see here in this area right in here, we've got a couple of zones that set up. That's another very positive indicator that when price is moving either up and out of or down and away from one of our supply or demand zones, if it creates new zones in those same areas, that's a very strong indicator that price is going to continue up through those as well. So let's go ahead and mark a couple of these off, and so there's three of them here really. The first one that I'm marking is maybe a little bit understated. That candle could potentially be a base or a leg candle, but I like the position where it's at on the chart. And then you've got this area right here as well, and unfortunately the colors here do tend to kind of run into each other, but you've got, you see here, I'll expand this out so that you can get a better indication of where these are at. If you want to just pause and zoom in on this on the video, you can see what these individual areas are at. Again, I don't trade the DAX, just use it as a correlation market, but that helps me understand, just in generally speaking, where price might turn there. All right, moving on, let's go ahead and flip over to TradeStation, which is our main charting platform, and start again with the dollar here. And unfortunately, when I was doing the prep for today, I got our user interface bug with TradeStation, where occasionally when you expand the windows out, they don't have the resize option in them, and so I got to go through that little dance to get that back. So I'm going to try and stay away from the daily time frame as much as possible today. So that's why I'm not going to blow those windows up. There's nothing to see on the dollar daily chart here, and so what we'll do is just open up here the 240-minute chart. This is going to show us really all we need to know for today, and that is, price came down, hit our zone down here, and has just continued to move up again. We are looking for price to break this last wick over here at 96.64. That'll be a even more positive indication that we're going to continue on up. If it doesn't, if price gets back up to here and maybe does a double top, or we see some negative divergence on RSI, that might be a good indicator that we'll get a bigger correction down before this continues on its overall move up from a daily and a weekly perspective. Looking at our 60-minute chart, we do have these areas that are right above. We zoom in on that here real quick. And we have the one area that's already been used. And again, that's why we have this 96.60 area. We're looking to break that. If we don't break that, this would be, looking back over here, right, this is a pretty solid zone right here that we could get some price movement off of. Again, I wouldn't think for a trend change, but a short-term trade, absolutely in that area. Looking down and left, we do have a couple of areas right here where price did change in. However, the reason why I didn't mark those off before is as price came down in here, had this little double bottom right here where the cursor's going, and then came up. We never cleared out this pivot high to the left over here. When that happens, just for my own rules, if I don't clear that pivot high, then I'm not looking to take any additional trades in here. They're going to be shorter term ones, short moving ones, and not as high probability as they would be should you see that formation happen. That's why we don't have anything marked on there. And again, so we've got our areas up above and nothing else really down below this that we're interested in looking at right now. Move on. Let's go ahead and take a look at the VIX volatility index here. We do see we're going to see a huge gap down because we have the index markets and the futures areas did come way up overnight, so that is not unexpected. Again, you can see here just on the right middle area where my daily chart is at. You can see that there isn't anything substantial there. I have no zones drawn. We're right in the middle of the Bollinger Band areas, so really nothing to pay attention to. I'm looking at the 240-minute chart, same thing there. Pull up the 60-minute chart. This is about the only thing that has any interest for us today from the VIX perspective. And so we've still have this area down here. I have it marked as an area of interest, right? It's not an actual zone. Check out the legend you have at the top of your screen to know what the different types of lines and colors of the boxes and ovals are here. This is setting up to potentially work a little bit more than what we might have expected in the past. The reason I say that is if price does come back down in this area, it is likely to go through the Bollinger Band here, which means that price will not stay out there for long at all. And so I could definitely see that there will be something of a move up from here, although I'm not looking for this to be a major trend change. It's not going to push the VIX way up higher up, but back up into probably the high 30s or 40s areas. All right, and we're going to flip the order that we do things around in just a little bit today, because I don't want to get stuck on only getting to some of the same markets every single day. So we'll do that every once in a while, just to make sure that probably every 2 days we're covering everything that we want to here. So I want to go ahead and just jump into the index markets first. We'll get to Forex later on and some of the other commodities futures. But really wanted to show, and this is one where I will go ahead and show the daily charts for both the ES and the NQ, because we had talked about this yesterday, right, where we had both of these areas on the ES, where we had this very, very solid zone down here. We had it in the same location on NQ. Turns out the NQ was the one that worked. And I did talk a little bit about that yesterday, about why you can sometimes use a different security, different symbols zone across all of the index markets, since they're all so highly correlated and usually work together like that. So we did see that happen, right? We've now got an entire, we broke out of this basically 3-day or 2-day range right here, and we are now moving up very, very strongly overall. Again, this zone is still valid. There's another one again in the same spot, maybe a little bit below the other one on the NQ as well. So if those two hit at the same time, again, another good indication that this zone could work for us again if price comes back down there. So let me just do this little change here to get this chart to close for me. All right, so on a 240-minute time frame, what we had talked about at the end of the session yesterday was this line right here was the one we were looking at to really confirm that we had an actual trend change on a 240-minute time frame. We cleared out this and I'll zoom in on this real quick, sorry, to get a better look at it. We cleared out this pivot high here, but we really need this one to clear out so that way we can get that confirmation of the actual trend change itself. But it's looking very good right now. I think that's going to move up quite a bit there. As I'm looking down and left, I'm not seeing anything that I'm interested in. And again, we're still moving off of that daily area, so I'm not looking to get short on any of these indexes right now. From a 60-minute time frame, the only concern we have here at all is the fact that we are, at the top of this bigger move here. So we are, very high probability we're going to get some sort of a correction back down here. We've taken out, this is the other pivot high that we looked at on the 240-minute chart. We've cleared that one. We're looking to clear the other one over here. Before before we're rock solid that we're trend change on the immediate to the intermediate time frames here. Some areas to keep in mind as we do this, we do have a couple of pretty solid looking zones here, this could be where the correction comes back down to, and these would be areas that I would look for. Just to note, I'm going to mark this one with the dashed lines because you're more than likely you need to take some additional risk mitigation here. Either smaller position size, maybe have half your trade size go off at 1-to-1. These things that are so close to the top of this bigger overall move here tend not to work for longer term trades. Occasionally they will, which is why there's a reasonable expectation to take them. But really, when you get down to this bottom one here, this is probably the much more likely one. You'll get a correction here. Again, the only downside of this one, this is overnight trading. However, it's the start of the London session, so you got a little bit of additional volume that drove this zone to be created the way it was there. All right, I do have the same bug on the 15-minute chart, so I'm going to try my best not to zoom in on these. I will look myself, see if I see anything interesting. If I do, I'll just call out the actual zone location itself, and I'm not seeing anything different than that's already on the 60-minute chart there. So jumping over to NASDAQ, to the NQ, let's take a look at this daily chart again. Again, this is why all of this is working out the way it is. Again, just additional confirmation, right? Supply and demand works. So we had this high probability zone right here that we had drawn, and sure enough, price came right back down into it. You can see here we had the additional indicator. We were outside of the Bollinger Bands. We had the zones in the same location on multiple index markets. So we had a lot of very positive items that were telling us that this trade was going to work out well. So our typical target here is a 4-to-1. And so you can see we hit that today, overnight. And so if you were in this trade from the full scale here, then that's you would have hit that target already. I've got a couple of options positions open on this right now, so I didn't take anything in the futures markets on this exact trade here, just because I didn't want to have too many trades running on the exact same zone. But this is one where, you know, I would if you have anything left over here, if you have either a higher time frame or higher return target on this, or even a runner, this is one where I would let it go and then just keep moving your stop up, you know, maybe on like a 60-minute zone or a 240-minute zone as those are created. All right, let's and if you're watching any of the other markets right now, I've got another dashboard set up on a second monitor. We did have something happen here at 8:30. Some news caused gold and the gold to drop, the dollar to spike, and of course the euro to drop as well. Not sure what that is. That's something that you know, if it's something that you're interested in looking at, then take a look at that. See if you can get figure out what that correlation was there. Sometimes it's just interesting to know. We won't ever use news to trade, but sometimes it's just fun to learn how the news impacts different markets there. Jumping down to our 240-minute time frame, our line that we had drawn yesterday to confirm this trend change is a little bit higher in the Nasdaq, and you can see why. Right, we are still technically on a 240-minute and below downtrend right here, where we've got, you know, multiple lower highs and several lower lows here. Once we get above this line at 16,463, that will confirm that we're back in neutral state, which will give our any longs that we get into a higher probability of working. Clear this one out from yesterday, and I'll zoom in on this one because we do have another indication that we've got price is working out for us. We've got these areas here, that the zones that have been created, and the reason why these are important, these are zones that were created coming out of that daily zone. So anytime you have zones, again, on lower time frames that are created coming out of a higher time frame area, those are generally very, very likely to work, and they are usually much smaller than the original zone, so your risk is much lower, which means your potential returns can be much higher there as well. All right, jumping over to our 60-minute, we do have this area up here that we are approaching. And the reason why this is interesting is, again, remember I said we're still on a 240-minute and below downtrend, so we're allowed to take shorts. Again, we're in an index market, so any short has an automatic strike against it. However, this is with a trend, so these would be the times when you could take it. I would probably look for one other confirmation on this trade before I would take it. Even though we have it drawn up, I'd still say there's relatively high probability it's going to work no matter what. But when I watch this throughout the day, I'll probably look on the 15-minute time frame to see if I can see any negative divergence on RSI. And if I get that, that'll be my last indicator that I need to go ahead and take this particular trade. Again, looking down and left, though, we are seeing some other areas where price is, we are creating zones as we move up, and so that's just another good indicator that price really has changed, and we'll get a bigger, longer term move up from these areas. In the 15-minute chart, again, I've got one area here that I'm potentially interested in. I'll draw it out without expanding this, so I don't have to worry about going back in and fixing it. And I'll say it out here. So it's 16068 to 16052 would be your 15-minute zone there. That's done during the London market. If we get a small correction here, that's about the right place for it to go. Would expect the price to move up from there. All right, RTY. Daily zone, we've got nothing that we're interested in right now. We do have a couple of these areas here starting at 2334. We're unlikely to get to there today, but if we do, at 2334 to 2369 look for, you would need another indicator in order to make that work. So look for negative divergence on RSI on like your 240 or 60 minute time frame, just some other indicator that price is going to turn there. Don't just take that blindly. Our 240 minute line we drew yesterday. This is the one where we've got to break this line in order to get confirmed that our trend has changed. Now this one, chances are when price gets up here, well actually this will be a confirmation of actual trend change back to up. Let me just do a new parallel line here, because in reality, if we can break 2257, this will be confirmation of neutral, a neutral trend rather than continuing on the downtrend one here. As I'm looking down the left here, though, I'm not seeing anything that I'm interested in. Same thing with going up. I want to check our 60-minute time frame to see what we have here. We do have this area up above at 2304 that we are interested in. Again, because we're still in a confirmed downtrend, that's a good solid zone to take there. Looking down the left, I'm not seeing anything that I'm interested in. And let me just grab the 15-minute chart real quick. Again, I'm not going to zoom in on this. I don't have to, I'm not going to expand the chart, so I don't have to worry about fixing that bug today. Let's see, I'm looking down and left and not seeing anything here that I'm interested in, because it's overnight trading, and yeah, it just the time frames are just too small there. All right. Look at these, just a couple of the indexes that I do sometimes look at. I'm gonna look at GLD for gold. We've had this significant drop now in the last 15 minutes, or like 8 minutes now, I guess, on actually, yeah, about 23 minutes now on gold. So that means GLD is gonna probably open much lower. And what I'm looking for here is there any zones that I have drawn below where I think that opening down lower would then trigger something that we want to get back in on. The only thing I have is this area on the 60-minute chart, and what you can see here for this area, let me just, we've almost came back into it again once right here, and as I'm looking back left, sorry, it's already been used once there, so we've come close to it twice, and it's used once. If price opens up and drops down into that area again, and you get some other indication that it's going to change and hold there, yeah, go ahead and take this one. But I would be I'd be very skeptical of it. Make sure you've got a good solid indicator that its price is going to change there. Looking at TLT, this is the 20-year Treasury bond index. And just to contrast that with our two futures ones, one future that's 10-year bonds, other future that's 30-year bonds. That's why it's interesting to take a look at these. We did have, futures did drop pretty, or the 10 and 30-year bonds did drop pretty well yesterday. And we see a little bit of that in the 20-year bond, but it's a little stronger than the 10 and 30 right now. I'm not seeing any. There's no zones here that I have done. The only thing that we know we are still fighting is this weekly area here. The zone itself worked out really well for a smaller profit trade. Here came back in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Finally broke through a little bit, but is now coming back down again. So this may end up being just a much stronger area that will continue to work here. The other two futures areas have pretty strong zones above them as well. We'll take a look at those next. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over into the futures area for the bonds, and we'll look at the 30-year bond first. So this is US symbol on the TradeStation platform, and just again, kind of showing context without getting into that daily chart. We got our 240-minute chart here, where if you look down below, we do have some pretty solid negative divergence on our RSI. as price continued to go up on the price chart. RSI down here in the bottom part did drop. So that was a good indicator that we were going to get that corrective move down. And I'm not interested in anything here until we get down to that 160, 9:30 seconds area. On a 60-minute chart, and we had this really amazing strong move up out of this area we had down at 159. And I'm not showing anything else. Bring this up here just to call it out. We do have this over here, right? We've got this drop, base, rally, and then a strong rally out here. The only reason why I'm skeptical of this area is anytime you get price that drops down this much and isn't protected very close by something else, and that did set a new lower low, you just got to be very, very cautious of taking those as automatic trades. But it is a zone. It does fit our criteria. So we'll mark it. I'm going to mark it as an area of interest, not as an actual zone yet. There's nothing up and left either that I'm interested in getting back on short here. I want to get confirmation that we have turned back down on a shorter time frame before we get into any trades on the 30-year bond. 10-year. A little bit more weakness in the 10-year than in the 30-year. So we'll take, and the reason I say that, right, we'll look at the 240-minute chart as soon as it finishes loading here. Right, we're right back down at the lower end of this area, of this almost what's turned into a line of resistance here. And as soon as, if price breaks down below here, then I would look for a shorter time frame, short position to get into, and just know that we are coming down to this area at 129.26. That's a good solid zone that we would look to take a longer term trade moving back up again on. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at oil. We got plenty of time left today. All right, so oil talked about yesterday, looking for that 70.5 area. Sorry, it wasn't the 70.5 area. It was the, which one did I think we had called out? It was 69.5. We needed that to break. Let me just show you that real quick here on the 60-minute chart, so that maybe that some of that context would make sense. So if I zoom in on this area here, I was looking for this pivot high over here to the left. I needed this one to break to prove that we had changed trend on this. And as soon as that did, I knew we did. And so you were able to get into some longer term long positions from there. And when it broke that, this candle that broke it actually created another zone that will be very interested as price comes back down into here, into the 69.10 to 68.72 area. That'll be a good strong zone to take to move back up again. As soon as we had that change, that trend change, these two trades should have come off of your off of your option. These were set up to be with the trend trades, and we did change that trend. So these turned into counter trend trades, and I don't do counter trend trades. So these got pulled off as soon as that happened yesterday. We'll just remove those out. We are looking for oil to continue to move back, to move up. We've got a good solid area here on the 60-minute time frame. Looking for this correction to come back down and get back in on it here. Let's go look at some of our other time frames. Again, I'm not going to expand the daily chart, so I don't have to worry about that bug. But we've got quite a ways to go before we get into any areas of interest on the daily chart, all the way up to 78.42. On a 240-minute time frame, we came ever so close to getting in, to this trade hitting down here. And we talked about this yesterday. This was that smaller time frame area within the weekly zone that we were looking for. And again, all very, very, very close to coming into it there. You can see that the 240-minute area is creating new zones as it works its way up. You've got one right here. And technically speaking, because gaps that are not contract rollover gaps, which this one is not, you'll see that this gap right here, it's not a contract rollover gap. That's just a price change gap. That counts as a green candle. So here's another good solid zone in your 240-minute time frame. Price comes back into either of these areas, and that'll be a good one to take there. Just to again put this back into context of what we were looking at. No, it wasn't a weekly time frame. I'm not sure why we were. Oh, that's right. We were looking at the weekly chart because we saw this double bottom area here. And while these are not zones, they're good indicators to go look to see if you can find a different zone in there. Morning, Doug. How you doing, sir? Good to see you joining the community here. Let me know if you have any questions for the day. So that's why we looked in there. Again, these are not actual zones, but they can be areas where other lower time frame zones sit. All right. The only other thing I'll point out here, on the 30-minute chart. Hang on. Just hit the wrong button there. Since I can't use the 15-minute charts today, let's go ahead and just take a look at the 30 because we do have a good solid zone right here that we're interested in if we get this correction back down again, because we believe we're in the overall trend back up. So this is a 6803 to 6873 area. And again, just from my perspective, right, if you look left with this one, you'll do see that price changed in this general area multiple times. Those are one of my odds enhancers there. Just keep that in mind. If we get that correction back down, I would look to get on a nice longer move up from there. Okay, gold. We did have, again, I just said we had this pretty significant drop over the past 30 minutes or so in gold. And overall, we are still coming up from this area of interest on a 240-minute time frame. We looked at this, and we did actually get additional confirmation down in the 60-minute area that this one was going to work. And so if you are in this trade, it's still a potentially strong trade that could go on for quite some time here. There's nothing on a 240-minute chart looking up and left that I'm interested in taking back short again, or that will stop this from moving up. On a 60-minute time frame, we have no zones that we're interested in. I can tell that right now. However, you can see here this candle has now gone significantly below the lower end of the Bollinger Band here. So price has got to come back up into that area, the middle area, at some point very soon. And so, look on again lower time frames. We'll see if we can find another zone that we could take advantage of here to get back on as it comes back up into that area. And yeah, Doug, we do start typically try and start at 8:15 every morning now. We go from 8:15 to 9:15 to try and get a good setup before the official markets open at 9:30 our time here. So let's do that. Let's see if we can get down here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and take the risk and open up our 15-minute chart. I got to deal with that user interface bug. This area here finally did break. I'll zoom in on the rest of it. As I look down and left, though, you'll see this area right in the center of your screen now. Wicks are all over the place here. Anytime you have that much imbalance, that just means that there's almost too much imbalance there, right? Nothing is firm. There's not enough structure there to actually take a trade in. So I'm going to stay away from this area, even though price did come down and coming out of that Bollinger Band area on the 60-minute zone. There's nothing here that I'm comfortable with taking a trade on that's a high probability one. All right, now that I can resize that window again, let's move on and take a look at natural gas. So an update from where we were at yesterday, right? We looked at this weekly area that was also a 240-minute zone, and we had said that we were looking for that confirmation that this zone was going to work on a weekly chart, and it does look like it is now. Now, I did send out a note, through social media that that we weren't going to take it at the time, and I just want to kind of explain why I had sent that out, even though it does look like it's working now. So what I was looking at was on this 60-minute chart here. Price was coming down into this area right about in here was where the original entry into the zone was. I was looking for that negative divergence on RSI, and what I saw as price action moved down this way, RSI did not show that negative divergence. So just to get the exact numbers here, I know you can't see the actual window that my cursor pops up. RSI at this low point here was at 25.21. It dropped down over here to 20.88, which means RSI got lower as price got lower. That's the key that we look for. That did not happen right there, and so that's why I sent out the note, hey, let's just stay away from this now. It does look like we've got a little bit more of that divergence now. We're probably a little too far above that to take that without adding a lot of risk. So this would be the area now where I would start looking for, on a smaller time frame, like a 60-minute, look for another zone to form in this same general area right here, and then take a quick retracement into that. That's how we're going to get back onto this longer move, if we can. But again, it's got to fit the rules, right? We don't want to be guessing. This isn't gambling. It's great to see you here, Doug. Thanks for joining today. So we'll watch that throughout the day too. If I see anything that shows up on a smaller time frame, we'll get that information out so that you can evaluate it and use it for yourself as you need. But just looking back here on the 240-minute chart, why we're in this area and why we're looking at this. Got your zone here, and so if you were using this zone as your entry and stop point, and you were using that negative divergence look on the RSI, this is why I said not to take it, because when it came back down again, we actually went down through this zone here. So if price were to come back down here again into this area and there was negative divergence, we're still in the overall weekly time frame. So that would be another good indicator to take this long. So again, I'll monitor this throughout the day. If anything changes substantially, we'll get that information out to you all, so you can take advantage of it if you want to. All right, on Nikkei, this is another index market we use as a correlation market as well, to see how the Japanese markets did overnight, to see how well that they might the U.S. markets might do today, and we also do actively trade it. So we're back up into this area on a 240-minute chart here that has worked for us before already. Would not expect this to work again. Shorts on index markets rarely work more than once. So my expectation is that price is going to continue up here. Once it breaks this area, we're going to get this confirmation that we have a trend change, which will be a good place to start getting back in on some longer term long positions here. And we do have a couple of really good areas to look at. This one right here is a good solid one to get back in on something. If we get a retracement back down here, and looking up and left, I'm not seeing anything that I'm worried about changing direction on this right now. All right, 60-minute time frame to see if there's anything else here. I don't know why I have not changed this zone. It's already been used. We do not want to make a mistake and use this one twice. All right, good confirmation on a 60-minute and below that we've got a trend change here. So let's look for additional places where we could potentially get long in. I've got a area of moderate interest right here. I would have liked for this area to be a little bit lower, to be in line with taking out these other pivot points right here. Technically, it's still in the same one that took this pivot point out, so that's why we'll go ahead and mark it. But this would be one where you could definitely get back in on the longer move up right here. And that's about it on a 60-minute chart. I don't go any lower time frames on the Nikkei just because of the volume there. And just if anyone is new and wants to know what that means, pull up the 2-minute chart here. When you get a chart that looks like this, call it a constellation, like a bunch of stars in the sky, these are price gaps, which means that the volume is very, very low on it. So you want to be very cautious about getting in on smaller time frames on these, because if you drew a zone around something, one of these areas, price could jump above or below it very quickly, and you could potentially lose a lot more money than what you had expected to there. So just be very cautious of those types of markets. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our cryptocurrencies. Interesting point here on Bitcoin. And I'm going to go ahead and have to do the dance to fix this chart, but it's worth looking at on a daily perspective, right? Of course, if anyone here watches any news at all, you've seen the doom and gloom of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. Again, especially in cryptocurrencies, you don't see large gaps very often. And this is a massive gap, right? They don't actually have contract rollover or anything like that. So these gaps are all just price movement. But once again, supply and demand rules. It doesn't matter what the news states. Doesn't matter how bad the outlook is. Supply and demand still is the foundation on which these price movements are done. Price dropped right into this daily area that we had drawn, and now is moving up fairly strongly from there. And now, flipping through the news this morning, there's now renewed interest in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin today. So again, they're calling it as a change of news and a change of perception about it. Hey, in reality, supply and demand at work. So yeah, I would expect that Bitcoin is going to continue to keep moving up from here. No indications otherwise. We'll look at some of the smaller time frames to see if anything we want to get into. Here we do have this area of interest right up here, which will probably make for a small move. Maybe this will be a good correction place. I would not expect this zone here to change price in any way. So let me just do my little dance to get back to the point where I can resize that chart. And we're good. All right, 240-minute time frame. There is nothing here to look at. 60-minute time frame. Let's go ahead and blow this up because I just want to, again, point out for when you're dealing with gaps in charts, especially stuff like this that doesn't have contract rollover. This is a price gap. This is an unknown area. You have no idea what price is going to do here. Don't roll the dice. It's not a trade. It's called gambling if you try and take a trade in the middle of this. Just let it go. Wait till you see something that's real and then trade it. The only thing here I would even consider remotely, and it's a little bit even too risky, this area here, right? It's a drop-based rally with a fairly strong move back out of it. However, and it is within that daily zone, so that's why there's some additional strength there. However, it's still a counter trend trade. So your rules would still have to allow you to take counter trend trades, even if it was a smaller time frame one in the middle of a larger time frame zone. Just be very, very cautious of this one, though. Because of that, I'm just going to mark it as an area of interest, not an actual trade. Looking up and left here. So technically, we're in a smaller time frame downtrend. So you do have these two areas right here. These fit our criteria. They are zones. In particular, this upper one here. Look left here. Phenomenal price movement here. You know that there's a lot of unfilled orders in this area. When price gets up here, we will not have changed trend yet. We will be in a neutral trend state. So that's another good reason why you could take these and that why they may work. I would not expect them to be, bigger moves down further past that daily zone, but either one of these, both of these could be very nice shorter term trades just based on where they're at and what the structure looks like here. All right, let's jump over to Ethereum. See what we have here. And with Ethereum, we did not have any sort of a daily zone like we had on Bitcoin, so nothing to look at there. I will say let's nothing to look at in a 240-minute time frame either. 60-minute, we've got. So a couple of things to look at here, and I'll just blow up this whole area of the chart here. Just a quick reminder, and I don't remember exactly which show it was, right? This will probably be the, what was this, on November 30th. So either November 30th or December 1st show. If you want to go back and look at that one, you'll see why we have these line formations drawn here. Basically what this was a 240-minute area of interest that we wanted to watch for, but we weren't sure it was going to work. So I just drew it out on the 60-minute time frame. We had our very solid indicator of price action moving up, RSI moving down. Inside that zone, that was a yes confirmation, go ahead and take this trade. The green line here is our standard target of 4-to-1, but as you can see, this worked out very, very, very strong all the way down here. Hit this other 60-minute area, which has already been used, so we didn't take it again. As you can see here, right? It's sorry, it had not been. Yeah, it had been used once right here in this area. We weren't considering that strong, but again, I'm still tracking all of the cryptocurrencies for my initial evaluation period. So this is one of the things that I'm tracking. And it does seem like in some cases cryptocurrencies do reuse zones more often than other either futures areas or other index funds do. So that'll be something that we'll look at potentially changing if we ever get into actually actively trading any of the cryptocurrencies. Because of this move though with Bitcoin, and we are seeing a potential change of trend here, I'll mark this area right here. Good solid structure in a great location. Looking left even gets us, another zone that this took out, but we're still a counter trend trade, so that's why it's marked with the dashed lines there. All right. Anything else? I'll take a look at the 45-minute chart here for Ethereum. Yeah, so this was after we had that 240-minute area work right up here. We actually had another zone created on a 45-minute chart. These are very, very strong formations. So I'll take just a few seconds here to talk about that. When you have a larger time frame zone that worked and in the same general area, right? And so that zone was, what was it, like down to like 47.20ish or so. When you get a lower time frame zone that forms right outside of it, look to take these quick retracements into it because they work very, very, very frequently. As you can see, I mean, this would have been a very, very significant trade. So that's just another indicator that you can use. Smaller time frame zones created right outside of larger zones. All right, jump over to Litecoin, the only other cryptocurrency that we can track on the TradeStation platform here. And it looks like we did have a significant gap on this one as well. Again, we didn't have any zones drawn. Litecoin is, just bring up the weekly chart here instead of the daily one. It's still relatively new, obviously, and there's not a lot of really good solid structure to it yet going back too far. So we're even more cautious about this one. The volume is also relatively low compared to the other ones that we are looking at as well. 240-minute chart, there is just nothing here that I'm interested in trading. It's all too risky. 60-minute time frame. We had this area here, so just if you're following this point in particular, we had this area here where I had two zones drawn. Price came right between both of them, so didn't complete this first one, didn't hit the second one, and has now dropped substantially away from this one. That means this zone here is no longer an actual zone itself, right? We will, when I track these areas, this gets marked as a missed entry for me because I picked the wrong entry point for it, which means I'm not going to use it again, even though it is still considered a fresh zone. As I'm looking down and left, I'm seeing areas that I'm interested in. We kind of saw almost the same view on Ethereum, but these would all be counter trend trades. I needed some additional confirmation that we're at least in a neutral trend state before I'm even thinking about drawing anything else in these areas. All right, so go ahead and now we'll get into Forex. So again, we did have this pretty significant move down in the euro here at 8:30 Eastern time. Again, I'm not sure what caused that. We are, and I'll just show this in the weekly instead of the daily, right? We're still in this overall downtrend, downward move here. We've got some areas of interest above on a weekly time frame that we want to watch out for. We are not seeing any negative divergence on RSI yet, so we would just expect this move to continue down, and we're just looking for other areas to get in on it. On a 240-minute time frame, we had a trade that we've taken that I took once, and someone else may have taken it a second time. Right, this area right here, still working out very, very well for us. I have an area of interest down here at 1.12139. And again, I will look for confirmation that this area is going to work because, again, this is a counter trend trade. And I wouldn't hold on to this one long either. Take some profits on it and then get out, and because this will not be the area where trend is going to change at. On a 60-minute time frame, I don't know that we've got anything that I'm interested in looking up and left here. The only potential area, again, just because it qualifies, and I'll explain why it makes me leery, we do have a base drop here with several additional red candles below it. Anytime a wick candle on a base exceeds the length of either of the leg in or leg out candles, just be careful. It's a strike against that zone, but there's other indicators that make it look good. It's with the trend. Looking left, it's a pretty solid one. But again, area of interest only because, and this is just for me, right? My rules don't let me take this automatically, but I'll watch it, pull up like a 5-minute chart or a 60-minute chart or a 15-minute chart when price gets up into the area, and we'll see. I'm looking at the 45 and 30-minute charts here real quick since the 15-minute one is bugged. I've got enough of interest here. Let me just show you this real quick because this could work for a nice quick trade as well. So we got this strong move down, and we did create two zones here. These would be nice, nice quick retracements. To maybe jump in on a shorter term trade here. My concern and why I would be hesitant about taking these is on a 60-minute time frame, right? We are still way below the Bollinger Band down here. Let me just blow this up again. Remember, the standard deviation principle. 95% of all activity happens between two standard deviations away from the mean. So price cannot stay below this Bollinger Band here for too much longer. It's got to come back up. When it does, it's more likely to come back up to this area, the 1.28-ish area, than it is to take some of those smaller, very quick retracements. So again, if you're going to take those on the 45-minute area, just mitigate your risk. Smaller positions or half of your trade off at 1-to-1, let the rest of it run a little bit further. Just something that's going to, not get blown through too quickly there. All right, just a couple of extra minutes here. Go ahead and look at USD JPY. And bigger picture, we're still just again to set context on weekly instead of the daily chart. Weekly, we're still inside of all of these candles right here, right? This is turning into white space. We would like to see something get above or below this before we're looking for longer term movements here. 240-minute time frame, really wanting price to get down to this area that we had marked below. We just couldn't quite get down there, and now we've got the price is now taking out this pivot point right here, and price on this pivot point here did not break the previous one low. We have a high probability of a trend change here. The only thing I would say is that this zone here that has been used before was only used up a very small percentage of the zone. This could work again. If it does, I would look for price to come back down to this other zone we have here at 112.226. On a 60-minute time frame, just to see if there's anything that we're very interested in here. And just very quickly, one of the first things I look at, number one, just peeked outside the Bollinger Band. We do have negative divergence on RSI. Right, price has gone up here. Down on the bottom chart, RSI movement is going down. So that's another indicator that we could see this correction back down again. Other than the areas I've already drawn here, I'm not interested in anything else. Getting long on this one right now. All right, let's see. 2 minutes left. Let's see. Let's go ahead and pull up. I'll just blow through a few of our stock picks here to see if there's anything that I see that is coming close. Nothing that I have drawn on Apple. AMC is the same thing. There's no zones there. BA, the zone I had drawn on the daily chart did break through, but now it's moving back up again. Again, there was no trade to get into there. CVX, the Chevron, nothing here. Delta Airlines, I think we talked about this last week maybe. We still have this area on the monthly chart right at 3092 to 2738. Oh, and the monthly chart, of course, also has that same bug on it. So let me do this dance to get that chart back, and it still didn't get back. All right, let's do it again. Need to be able to resize that chart back down. All right. Ford, don't think we had anything here. Nope, did not have any zones here that we were looking at. General Dynamics, same thing. Nothing until much lower on the monthly chart there. Just look at a couple of more here that I'm interested in. Zoom, I know we had come very close to the monthly area here as well. Haven't quite hit it yet. Without blowing that up, just to call it out, it's a 141.94. Take a look at that area on the monthly chart for a really good long-term trade there. And then just see one more here that I was looking at. Was it Netflix, I think? Yeah. So Netflix had that pretty significant drop last week. No zones that we're looking at right now, but it does look like price is changing there. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if there's any smaller time frame retracement areas that we could take a look at. And that's where we'll end it for today. Thank you all very much for joining, for supporting the channel, and for participating here. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Please remember to subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when we get new additional educational content put up. And have a great, safe trading day. We'll see you tomorrow, 8:15 Eastern Time, for another live day trading setup.